The Netflix era is underway as we catch up with one of WWE's top superstars. Hey everyone, welcome into No Holds Barred. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Postmedia wrestling writer Jan Murphy, and we are joined by WWE Superstar Drew McIntyre, who was on the debut episode of Raw on Netflix. I know the result did not go the way you wanted it to, Drew, but what was it like to be part of such a monumentous occasion?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. I think there was more people backstage than there was in the crowd, and we had about 17,000 people in the crowd. It was just everybody you can possibly imagine. Everyone from Hollywood wanted to be a part of it. It was the talk of the town. And yeah, it got to the point where I was just shoving right through people. For all I know, I threw Macaulay Culkin to the floor to get to where I needed to get to backstage. It was just such a mental day. But huge for the company. Unbelievable how far we've come since when I first arrived in 2007. And I thought I can't possibly get any bigger than this. And just to watch the evolution to the point we're at now. $1 billion deals, the debut on Netflix. Amazing. LA can go screw itself. Their lax laws, place reeking of a certain substance. Jey Uso and Travis Scott causing that certain substance to permeate the air, giving me a contact high and distracting me for a second to allow Jey to get a quick 3 count. I can admit he caught me with one. I've beat him 10 times. It's the first time he's ever pinned me. It was a fluke and it was a contact high, so it didn't count.
Drew, there were not very many spots on that card for matches. It was really built to be this is a special thing. We had 4 matches. You being on that, you're coming off an incredible year. A lot of people believe you had the best year of anyone. You are now in the upper echelon of, with names like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, Undertaker. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that you and I talked about, coming back and setting down this path a second time. You've worked so hard to get to where you are, but it must be really rewarding to be there now that you're there.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting just the way I think about things these days, I guess. You asked me that a year ago, I'd be like, oh my God, yes, and so much gratitude and, all the work and everything was worth it. And I think back then, perhaps I was just trying too hard in every way and being a little bit of a try hard. And it wasn't until I went home dealing with personal tragedy after Hell in the Cell that I realized I'm with my real family. We're dealing with a real situation. They've sacrificed so much. And I'm hearing such a lack of contact with my so-called family, my brothers and sisters in the locker room. And not only that, the fans have moved right on. Wait a minute. How did I not see this? My entire career, doesn't matter that you mentioned some names. Doesn't matter if you're Stone Cold or, the Undertaker, unless you're right in front of the fans' face. They move on. We're 52 weeks a year. Of course they move on to the next person. So I've got to get out of this industry what I want so that I'm not sitting there one day with regrets and what ifs, because they're going to move on anyway. I'm going to stop giving so much and caring so much and take and do it for myself and do it for my family and coming, with that mindset, which I had leading into 2024, but really do these days and seeing the response. I'm like, all right, well, I should have done this a long time ago. And as much as I've got these accolades lying around my room for Talker of the Year and all this stuff, and as much as it would have meant to me before, my mentality now is, yeah, you're damn right. So the freedom we have now, I know if they give me the ball, I'm going to put it in the back of the net. As much as I've got gratitude, it's more, you're damn right, I am the best.
So you talk about that level of freedom, and I'm curious about your creative process when you're deciding whether there's a certain promo that you want to do, or maybe there's something edgy you want to say. You obviously, in recent times have maybe used some not safe for work language in some reviews. But how do you decide to go about it to make sure where you're not oversaturating it to the point where maybe people get tired of it? Oh, like Drew's gonna do that again, and make sure it has an impact when you actually do something.
I'm Scottish, so if I had my way, I would be punctuating sentences with swears like I do in real life, and it's hard even right now to not be swearing the whole time. I think it would become just normal if I just talked the way I talked. But on television specifically, yeah, we're still a PG rated show. We've got sponsors, we have kids watching, so I'm conscious of it. And if we are, using a word. And generally, I don't swear on TV. You see some of the other guys, and I assume they get permission. Hey, can I say this word? So I want to feel like a cool badass. I can walk out and stand there and be a badass. I'm 6'5" and 280 pounds. Like I don't need, that kind of crutch, but it is part of my personality, swearing. So enough more free forum, like my social media, that's my social media. And, if, a parent doesn't like what I'm saying, then, block Drew McIntyre, I suggest, because that's where I'm going to be, my full self and not holding back, but, very conscious of what forum I'm in and how far I can go. And from a creative standpoint, when it comes to TV and the likes, like the creative itself, so good these days. I can look at it and go, okay, that's good. Let me put my spin on it. I'm going to put my words into it and see how we can make it interesting, edgy, get to the line, maybe dip a toe over the line without going too far to cause the company problems.
Things have changed so much with how the company operates. There was time off over Christmas. Now we've gotten past the Netflix debut, and we're into this stretch now that leads us to WrestleMania, which will lead you to Toronto again in February, in the beginning of March, for we're going to have Elimination Chamber. Last time it was in Canada was in Montreal. What particular do you enjoy about coming up to Canada? And I guess, talk a little bit about that match itself.
And I love coming to Canada. The fans are always awesome wherever we go, but I specifically love Toronto and Montreal. I got a lot of friends in both places. Have a lot of fun during the show and after the show in those places. So I'm excited to come to Chamber. If I don't have the title by then, I expect to be in the Chamber. I expect to win the Chamber for the third time, and then I expect the greatest after party of all time. And I know the fans will be bringing it that night. Sometimes they call it Bizarro World, like in Toronto. It's just kind of like like a New York or whatever. Sometimes they cheer certain bad guys, or they pay attention to the product. And someone like a Drew McIntyre, when I go somewhere like Toronto, Canada in general, or back home in the UK, they're actually listening to what I'm saying instead of like in America half the time, and they're like, "Oh, well, you were nasty. You beat up that guy." They go, "Well, he beat up that guy because of this, this, this." Drew's right. So I'm excited for people that understand my perspective, aka people that just listen to my side.
So when it comes to wrestling in these large venues, it's going to be at Rogers Center as Elimination Chamber, and we don't know the capacity yet. But previously, I was there at WrestleMania 18, where there was 60,000 plus people. You've obviously done this when it comes to other WrestleManias, but when you're in the ring, surrounded by that large of a crowd, well, what's it like to actually be in there? What are you hearing? Can you hear anything at all? Like, what is that atmosphere like when you step into that ring?
Yeah, I mean, it's just noise. It's just crazy to look around and see so many people and hear so much noise. And I'm pretty much in the zone. Well, not pretty much. I am in the zone during my entrances, very focused. But when we have like a match, like a elimination chamber or a Hell in the Cell, when you're inside that cage, it's kind of different as well. It's almost like you're in some kind of, I don't know, the old Coliseum, about to do some serious damage to each other, and somebody's not going to walk out of this thing. So you're aware there's that many people there, but also you're inside this structure. So you're so laser focused on your opponent. And you got to keep your wits about you, because in Elimination Chamber, you're releasing different talent, into the thing. There's multiple people all around you, and you can get hurt, pretty easy with all those bodies just flying around. Just last year, we're in Australia. It's at Perth, I believe. Where I won Elimination Chamber was the same thing, just tens of thousands of people. It wasn't until after the match I could finally look around and go, wow, there's so many people here. And struck my pose, and the fireworks went off. That went off for about 30 seconds, which I found out after the match. When you win Elimination Chamber, you get 5% of Cody's pyro budget for the big victory. So that was nice of him to give me some of that for the big victory. So hopefully this year in Toronto, maybe I'll get 10% of his pyro budget.
Last one from me, Drew. Over the last year, you dealt with one returning legend in CM Punk. You guys had the match of the year, maybe the best rivalry of the year, whatever you want to call it, storyline. John Cena's on his way back for 2025. How much would you like to get involved in John Cena in that last run? Would you like to be involved in that last run for him?
100%. I don't. No, it's not would either. I think it's should. 100%. When like Punk first came back, it's interesting people's instant reaction. Like, I'd like to see this or this, and my name wasn't mentioned, and I was like, I have plenty of stories here, plenty of personal, real feelings, and the environment we live in. If I get the chance, I'm going to make this freaking count. With John, I've got 10 times the stories. There's very few people that were around him, especially growing up around him. Like Cody and I are the only two that are under 40 that were from that previous generation that grew up around John. Have a lot of things to say, although they're more chummy. I might have some more interesting things to say, do have some more interesting things to say, and when, not if, I get the opportunity on the microphone, much like Punk. I know how good John is. I want to be able to have that chance to go back and forth and say our piece and make people think, just like Punk and I, oh my God, there's something really special here, and I'm not letting them retire and disappear into the night without getting that match, because we have never ever had a one-on-one match. We're gonna have that one-on-one match, and I'm gonna be the one that sends them packing, not some new guy. It's like, let's put him against a new guy. What's the story? He's new and he wants to prove himself. Oh, exciting. Okay, how about somebody who was there and grew up around him? There's plenty of more story to be told in the environment we're in now. Like, I've got some fun stuff I can and will be saying.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely looking forward to that potential match down the road, and we'll be looking forward to you at Elimination Chamber on March 1st in Toronto. Drew, thank you for the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.